The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's Internet Helpline with your host, Christy.
Hey everybody, welcome to... Thanks, Andrea. Hi everyone, welcome to today's Internet Helpline call. It is Christy here. I am flying solo today. We normally would have Steve and Craig on the call, but they are actually traveling. So I don't think they'll be joining us today, but you never know. I mean, sometimes they do jump on at the last minute and surprise us. Otherwise, you will have me for the next 60 minutes. I am going to be here to answer all of your questions, internet related. So many of you, of course, have been using the Success Website system to drive traffic and generate leads. And that's really our primary goal here at Success Website, is to get you as many leads as possible for the least amount. So we are very much focused on getting top conversion rates, really monitoring our cost per lead, and of course always testing different elements, whether it be ad copy, landing page copy, as it can get as detailed as the call to action that sits above the form. So why don't we take the full hour today? I really want to answer as many questions as I possibly can, and really use this hour as a way to kind of dig into the internet marketing stuff and see how we can help you get more from the Success Website system. So let's take some questions. I've got a couple of questions here right off the top that I can get started with, and I encourage you all to enter your questions in as well. We can hopefully take some live questions also during the call. So something that I get asked quite often is, what kind of response should I be expecting from media outlets like Google and Facebook? So Google and Facebook, these are two media outlets that we focus on here at Success because we know that there are big opportunities for traffic through these two media outlets, but they are quite different. So let's first discuss the similarities between Google and Facebook. Number one, tons of people are using these media outlets. Okay, so we're talking about millions of users on a daily basis, millions of eyeballs looking at these two media outlets. Okay, now Facebook is a social media. People use that differently than they use Google. Okay, but something they have in common is lots and lots of users, big opportunities for traffic. They also have a very robust advertising platform, both of them. So lots of ways to get in front of your target audience and compel them to click on something and go to your campaign page. Okay, so they have that in common. Now, the differences between the two is really what people are doing on these platforms. So you mentioned before, Google is more of a research tool. So people are often going into Google to search for something specific. They may be searching for real estate. They may be searching for real estate information, homes for sale, those types of things. So they have a goal. They want to get information on this specific topic, and they go to Google to do that. Whereas Facebook is much more of a passive media where people are there just to sort of browse. It's a much more disruptive style of advertising where you're just trying to get in front of people. But the good news is that you can be quite targeted in who you get in front of within Facebook. So we find that Facebook can often bring a lot more traffic, right? It's just the nature of that medium. People are often more likely to click on things, do things, respond to things. So we often see that we get more clicks, more visits from our Facebook ads, and it could be because they're bigger. Maybe people are on mobile devices, they're clicking on things accidentally. It's hard to say, but we do tend to get a lot more traffic from Facebook. So that means that our response rate, our conversion rate, on Facebook ads tends to be a bit lower. So I usually say on Google, anything above 7% as far as your conversion rate is concerned is good. Okay, now conversion rate, just for those of you who are sort of new to the system and haven't really spent time looking at your results, your conversion rate is, the number of leads compared to the number of visits. So when we talk about conversions, we're talking about leads. Okay, we're not talking about people that you've spoken to on the phone, converted, done deals with. We're just talking about people actually taking action on your landing page and doing something. That's what we consider a conversion. So the conversion rate for Facebook tends to be around 5%. And that is a normal conversion rate for a Facebook campaign. So I know that some people get a little concerned because they hear us saying, 7%, 7%, and 7% is for Google is our benchmark. But when you're looking at Facebook, anything above 5% usually means that, for one, we're getting our lead costs. Lead cost is still going to be under $10. So our goal is always to try to get your cost per lead to around the $10 mark and below. And in Facebook, because the traffic tends to be a bit cheaper, we do see that our cost per lead is still low, even though our response rate is a bit lower at around 5%. Okay, so I just wanted to address that question because sometimes people see their conversion rate or their response rate for Facebook and it's around 5%, and they think that the ad isn't performing well. And usually that doesn't mean the ad's not performing well, but we still have to look at the number of leads that were generated, what the overall cost was, how much did you spend, and what the cost per lead was. Okay, so I can see we've got some questions in here, so let's get into this. Let's take this one from Conrad. Do we have any of the scripts or reports that are already translated into Spanish? Okay, so yes, we do have Spanish websites here at Success Website. We also provide the report content in Spanish, and I do believe we also have the universal follow-up script in Spanish as well. So you would have to have the Spanish website through us in order to get that. But what you can do, Conrad, is give us a call, and we'll let you know, what the cost would be to get you set up with a Spanish website. Okay, so I'll give our number to everybody, and you can save that if you wanna call in after the webinar today. But our number is 1-800-361-9527. I'm going to put it into the chat panel here as well. So that's 1-800-361-9527. And you can just speak to one of our reps here, and they can take a look at your account and see what we need to do to get you set up with a Spanish website. Okay, next question here is from Gail. How do you check your leads? Okay, well this is really good because I did want to spend some time getting into the My Leads. And I'm going to bring up an example of the My Leads database here. This is an actual client here. This is George Lorimer. He's based in San Diego, and he's been always so generous in sharing his marketing and his knowledge and his experience with everyone. So I didn't too much if we took a look at some of his campaigns here, because I always like to show live examples. So this is the My Leads CRM, and if you have not been into the My Leads CRM, I strongly encourage you to take a look and really become familiar with this. We also cover My Leads and lead tracking and lead follow-up during our action calls, and we usually have at least 3 action calls with all of our new members when we're getting you on board. So if you haven't had those action calls, then you want to call us. Make sure you book those. But we spend a lot of time looking at the My Leads and checking the leads, right? Because something very important that you have to remember, these internet leads, when they come in, yes, they're coming in asking for specific information, but they still don't really know who you are, right? And it can often take 3 to 4 to 5 touches before you really start having, a meaningful conversation with that lead. They're not at that know, like, and trust stage with you yet. Okay, our goal with these internet leads is to get them to that stage. And you have to keep that in mind, right? These people don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you just yet. We want to get them to that stage. So it's very important in the beginning to be generous, to provide them with the information that they requested, because how are you going to get them to that stage if you don't provide them with the information that they've requested, right? So make sure they get the information. Now, sometimes you will have only an email that you can follow up with. Yes, at times people will put in a number, you can't reach them. They may give you an incorrect number, and you only have email that you can use as follow-up. That can happen sometimes. Now, does that happen the majority of the time? I would say no. I'd say that, surprisingly, we do get a lot of valid phone numbers in through our system, people that you can call and talk to, but it may take a couple of calls before you reach them, right? So when you are in the My Leads, I recommend doing a couple of things. You always want to take a look at the most recent, right? You have to be reaching out to these people right away. So just imagine someone is sitting in front of their computer, they're searching, they're looking up property, they're looking for property in a specific area, and they're going to various websites and requesting information. If you can catch them while they are still in front of their computer, while they're still in research mode, you are going to fast track that meaningful conversation stage. You are going to get to that stage much more quickly than if you let that lead sit for 24 hours, 48 hours. The longer you let it sit, the harder it's going to be to get to that meaningful conversation stage. So number one is to always make sure you are following up on the leads as quickly as you possibly can. So in the My Leads, we have a contact sheet for each lead. You will have an email, a phone number, their name at minimum. Okay, that is the minimum requirement for all of our form opt-ins. They have to provide that information. Now, sometimes you will have additional information. You may have an address. You may have some profile information here, right? You may have a price range. Depends on what we've got on the form. But at minimum, you will have this contact information. So number one, try to get in contact with these people right away. So that would be the call stage. Okay, number one, make that call. Now we have the universal follow-up script right here in the My Leads CRM. So you can open that up, go through the script, answer these qualifying questions, or at least mark these off so you know where these people are at. So the number one goal for this call is to qualify that lead. You want to know what bucket to place them into, right? So there's going to be 3 categories, 3 buckets for these leads. Now business, future business, and no business. So, you're not calling these people to necessarily convert them right away on the phone. You don't have to be hard selling them. This is a very soft sell situation here. And in fact, if you can get in contact with these people and then get permission from them to call them in the future and contact them in the future, that is a successful follow-up, okay? So that really is the number one goal. So as I mentioned, the quicker you can get to that lead and call them, the much more likely you are to have that initial conversation. Now, questions that I often get about this first part of the follow-up script. And it's this question in particular: did you get the information you needed, right? So in some cases, that prospect, that lead, will have already received information. You know, they may be coming in from a report page, or they may be coming in from an HDX squeeze page and they're getting access to listings, right? So there are situations where they will automatically get that information, and then there are situations where they don't. Okay, say for instance they come in from a foreclosure distress landing page, and there's no automation behind that. There's nothing that is going to push out those listings right away to that prospect. If that's the case, then you just have to make a subtle change to this. And I would say, instead of saying, you know, did you get the information you needed, it would be more like, and I'd like to provide you with the information you requested, right? So the whole purpose of this this question is to, you know, introduce yourself, let them know that you are responding to their request. Okay, like I received your request from my website, because you know, people will forget, or they'll claim that they never filled it out or whatever, right? So you want to make that clear. I received your request. You know, did you get the information you needed? And I'd like to provide you with the information that you requested. Now, are you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? Okay, so now you launch into the motivation, the timing, getting more information from that lead, and you are now driving the call. Okay, and driving to that ultimate goal of, you know, are they looking to do something, you know, in the next 3 months? Are they a little bit farther out? And then I think, you know, the primary objective should always be, you know, I'd like to send you that information, and I will be following up with you and providing you with more information, right? So that gets to this stage. Would you like to receive via email my free monthly newsletter to keep you in touch with what's happening in the marketplace? Now, you all have a newsletter, okay? Newsletters are included in the Success website. This is part of your branded site, actually. So when you go to your branded site, that's the HDX. When we go to our branded, if you go under Home and look at this month's newsletter, this is the Home Market Watch newsletter that you can be sending to your prospects automatically every single month. And you always want to do that from your branded site. So quite often we get questions about the branded. You know, why do we need this branded? Everyone's always talking about less branded and how, you know, all of our leads come through the less branded, and that's true. All of our leads are generated through the less branded because we know that we get better response through a less branded campaign. However, all of our follow-up should always come from the branded. You always want to make sure that you take every opportunity to attach yourself to this information that is going out. So again, you know, I'm going to harp on this know, like, and trust concept over and over during the call today, because that's what we're trying to do. You know, every step of the way, that's what we're trying to do. So when your prospect sees this newsletter coming from your branded site, and they know that Craig Proctor is sending me this information, and there's lots of good stuff in here, and I'm getting reports, and I'm getting content, and I'm getting this and this and this, that is you promoting your brand. Okay, so very important there. Okay, so that's kind of getting into more of the follow-up stuff. But getting back into my leads, another big recommendation I have is to always make notes. Always make notes in your CRM, and try to do it online. I know that many of you, you know, you get your emails and you print them off and you make notes on those, and you got paper flying all over the place. Probably not the most efficient system, I would say. Like, if you can keep your notes online where you know that they're going to stay put, they're always going to be attached to that lead. You'll always have that to refer back to when you're making your future calls. Make your notes, okay? So whether you were able to reach the person, you know, talked to the wife, and scheduled our next call, sent info, you know, whatever the details are. Just make your notes here. You can save that, right? And that note will show up here. Okay, I'm just going to delete that actually because I don't want George to be confused by that. But make notes, always, every conversation. Make your notes, and that way when you come back to that lead, you will know exactly what transpired during your initial call. And then number 3, always set a next call time. There should always be a future call booked. There should always be a future event, whether it's a call, even better yet, an appointment. Don't miss this step because these leads will fall through the cracks. If you follow up, you talk to that person, you send them the info, and you think, oh yeah, I'll give them a call in a couple of weeks. Chances are you won't remember to do that, right? And this lead will continue to get your stuff, and that's great, but meanwhile, they've been requesting things on other realtors' websites, and that other realtor has been calling them every week consistently and now has their business, right? So make sure that you set a next call time, and I would bump up the frequency for the new leads, try to keep it to maybe like weekly, bi-weekly, and it's really just a call to check in and say, you know, have you been getting the information? Do you have any questions? You know, I've added you to the newsletter that will be coming out soon. So, you know, it doesn't have to be, again, a hard sell call. It can be soft, but make sure that you have that consistent follow-up planned. And when you set your next call date in here, you will also see it in the My Leads grid view. So this is something actually I want to show everybody. This is what we call the grid view in My Leads. Now, if you want to see more or see less in this grid view, that's easy to do. If you go down to the settings option here, so you'll see the settings here, you can check off what you want to see in your grid view. So if I wanted to see my next callback date, okay, I can check that off. I hit save, and now I can see my callback date here. So every time you go into My Leads, you can see, okay, oh yeah, I've got to call this person. I spoke to them a couple of weeks ago, right? So I've got to give them another call. So you can actually sort your leads by the callback date, or you could sort your leads by, registration date, last visit date. All of these headers up here, you can sort, right? So if I wanted to see, and with HDX, this is something that really becomes important, is you may want to see who last came into the site to view property. So we know that Bertha here has been quite active on the site since, looks like 2009. Interesting. So that person is coming back, right? They came back on the 13th. Probably worth checking in, see where they're at. Another interesting side note here is the TMS. Let me get back here. And just because we were talking about newsletters, you see this TMS code. I'm going to take advantage of the handy tools in GoToWebinar here. This is our TMS code, right? So this is the Track My Success tracking code that our system generates. And this says SIC News. That stands for Stay in Contact. That is the monthly newsletter. So the reason why Bertha is coming back to the site is because she has been on the Stay in Contact newsletter since 2009 and has since been looking at property and has done more in the website. And we can actually see a full history of what she's done in the website. We can take a look at that. But I mean, there's a lot of valuable information. I mean, how many of you on the call today, when you get a deal, right? When you convert one of your leads and you start working with them, and you've got a new buyer client or a new seller, how many of you know exactly where that lead came from, exactly which ad, which media outlet. If you don't know that, then there's obviously something wrong in, there's a glitch in the matrix here somewhere. We have to make sure that we know the original source of all of our leads. That's why we have these tracking codes here. So this person actually came in from a domain name that was investsdhomes.com. Now, George may have ran this ad back in 2009, probably did, but we know that that lead came in from that particular ad and has since, gotten into the HDX and is now doing more in here. But at least George can say that that one classified ad that I ran that cost this much did end up resulting in a lead who was nurtured for 6 years and finally became a client. So this is all coming down to ROI, knowing your return on investment and which ads work well, which ones don't. So this is really important stuff, and I know that I'm moving fairly quickly here, and I hope that you're all kind of staying with me. So before I go off on another tangent, I'm going to get back to the questions here, and then maybe we can dig a little bit deeper into the My Leads, and I'll sort of follow along with the questions. Okay, next question is from Jordan. Does the text message verification work well with HDX to improve the quality of the leads? Okay, that's a great question. Let's take a look at that, because in HDX we do have the ability to require a mobile phone number to verify the lead. So the only way that the prospect can access the hot list is to provide a mobile phone number, and then they get the verification via an SMS text message. So, I mean, I think that it certainly could improve the quality of the leads because you're going to have a valid phone number. And these days, people don't mind communicating via text. I think that they're much more likely to respond via text than picking up the phone. It just seems to be the way it is. So when you start your communication through SMS, through texting, there's definitely a value in doing that. And of course, when you have a valid phone number and you can communicate with somebody effectively, that's a better quality lead. The big question is, does that kill your conversion? Are you less likely to generate leads because people are required to put in a valid mobile phone number? And that has to be tested. I mean, we've done some testing there. I can't say that we've done enough to definitively say that response is better when you try to offer SMS verification. But it's just like you said, Jordan, I think that if you really want to try it and test it, that technology is there. It is available for you to use, and you can just let us know. We can activate that for you, so that people do have to go through and verify via text message to get access to the listing data. All right, let's talk. Let's take a look at Ellen's question here. I have a hot new listing in Maryland, which is a single agency site. What is the best way to leverage that listing? So I guess the question is, is this like a private listing, Ellen? Is this just a listing that you want to use to generate leads? There's different ways that you can approach that, and listings are always a great way to generate leads. You can always leverage them in a variety of ways. We do have sign riders Okay, so if you have a listing and you want to market it curbside, you want to add to your sign rider, we've got these great SMS sign riders, and if you go to smssignriders.com, you can get more information on those. But you can have an SMS code, a short message code, attached to each and every listing. And in order for the person, the prospect, to get access to that listing, they have to send a text to the system to get access to that listing. So I'm always surprised at how few of these I see out there. I mean, we've been offering these sign riders for about 5 years now, and I rarely see these out on the street. You know, I rarely see these. I know that the phone number is always there because sign calls are the best leads that you could possibly get. Like, we all know that. But what if someone doesn't want to pick up the phone and call you and speak to you about that listing? I mean, this is a kind of an easier way for them to get information on that listing on their phone right then and there while they're in front of the property. So you can actually test this. If you're all able to pick up your phone and send a text message, I would just test it. If you open up a new message and send and text, 1002 or 1003, but you can try 1002 to, okay, so the person that you're sending to, or the system that you're sending to, is 555000. So you're sending the text 1002 to 555000. That's our demo listing. But you'll see that as soon as you text that, as soon as you send that, you'll get a text back from our system saying, click on this link to view this property. So immediately they will get access to that listing and be able to see all that information. And the beauty part is that you also get a lead, a brand new lead from the person who is sending that, and you capture their phone number, their mobile phone number. So now you've got someone that you can contact right away. You know that they are likely to be in front of that property right now, and ask if they have any questions. Sometimes they get a little creeped out if you call them too quickly, because they start to look over their shoulder and think, okay, is like some real estate agent going to jump out of the bushes and ambush me right now? So you might want to wait a couple of minutes, but you know you're going to catch somebody, and you know that they're interested, and chances are they're a little bit closer to doing something. So they're not, just looking, just doing their research. They're probably closer to buying, and that can produce a pretty good quality lead. So, or you can text them back, right? So you can try calling them, but you can also send them a text message back saying, hey, we just want to make sure you received access to the listing. Do you have any questions? Are you thinking of, staying in the area? Maybe ask them some short questions and try to get a response that way. So the sign riders are awesome. You can also use this technology in your print advertising, right? So you all do kind of the homes and land stuff, or you've got your listing pages in the magazine. Instead of providing a phone number for each listing or a hotline number, you could provide an SMS text number. And I've got a client out in Penticton, actually. He's out in BC, and he said that he's been doing this with his listing, his print ads for listings, but he's just been providing the SMS. So he'll basically give a headline for that listing. He will not provide the price. He will not provide the address. He won't give any information other than, to check out this listing, go to or text 1221 to 555000, or whatever the text number is, and he gets a lot of leads from those ads, because people, they're at the donut shop, they're out and about, they're looking at these magazines, And it's not uncommon for them to pick up their phone and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to text and like take a look at that property. I'm interested. I want to know how much it is. I want to know where it is, all the details. So you can use the SMS text messaging in your print ads. You could use it in Craigslist, right? So we often get questions about Craigslist. What can we do with Craigslist now that we can't have hot links and URLs, and we can't really drive traffic to web pages anymore in Craigslist? This could potentially be the answer to generating leads on Craigslist, because we're not linking to a web page, but our call to action is to send a text to this number to get more information on that property. So the key with getting leads from your listings is to always hold back. Don't provide all the information on that listing. Require an opt-in. So whether it's online, through text messaging, but once you have that opt-in in place, then you are going to start generating leads from those listings, because the chances are most people that come in for that listing aren't going to end up buying that property, but they may buy something in the area that is similar to that home. So it's a great opportunity to generate leads. So again, that is smssignwriters.com. I'm going to also put that into the chat here, smssignwriters.com. And if you have any questions, just reach out to our team and we can answer that. We also do webinars on this stuff. I think that this week, actually, this Thursday, during our Jumpstart Live webinar, we are going to be covering listings. That is our topic for this week. So we're really going to dig into HDX, how to leverage your listings online, how to use things like SMS, how to use that technology. So that's this week. That's this Thursday, 3:30 Eastern Time. So I know that many of you are just looking for more webinars to be on because you don't have enough going on during the week. So here's another one that you can add to your schedule. But the good news is we also record them. So if you miss it, you can always access the recording. We send that out via email as well. Okay, so let's get to the next question from Michael. How can I track the traffic to my campaigns? Yeah, so that's very important. We want to always be able to track the traffic to the campaigns. So that is, the number of people visiting the site. So if, and I know Michael, I've spoken to him, so I know for sure that that we are tracking. We've got some Google going, and we are going to be getting started on some Facebook as well, because he just joined our management. So we will make sure that Michael has the right tracking URLs set up. But if you're not sure if your campaigns are being tracked properly, My Campaigns is where I am right now. I'm in the command center in the My Campaigns. This is where all of your campaigns, all of your marketing campaigns should be set up. So anytime we create a new ad for you, we'll be setting it up in here. You'll have a media outlet, it could be Facebook, Google, URL forward, classified. So we want to know exactly what the media outlet is, and then we want to know, of course, the TMS code. This is the tracking code, the source code that is attached to each and every lead that comes through the system. So just to walk you through this, because this is pretty important for everybody on the call to know. Okay, you all have the ability to get in here and create ads to make sure that everything's being tracked. So the first step is to click on this Create Ad option. Okay, that's a button. Okay, click on that. And then we will now kind of go through this setup wizard tool and choose our media outlet. So sometimes we get questions about how this connects to the coaching members website, because I know that you all have a separate portal with the Craig Proctor coaching program that you can get to set up ads and things. So this is separate. Like we're not connected, unfortunately, to that portal. So sometimes you will have to kind of work between the two. If you're like me, you always have multiple tabs open on your browser, and logged into multiple things at the same time, but you can do that. You can have both open and sort of be working back and forth. But this is where we're going to set up either URL forwarding, URL tracking, and make sure that our tracking code is correct and attached to our ads that we're marketing. So the first step is to choose your media outlet. Now, we have a lot of media outlets in here for George because he's had lots of different ads going, and chances are you're not going to have that. You may have one or two. You may have Google, because usually we have that in there by default. So if you don't have the right media outlet, it's easy to create one. You just go to Edit, and you can add a new media outlet. So if the media outlet is Facebook, then you say, Facebook. If the media outlet is Craigslist, you can, name it Craigslist or Kijiji or, the Penny Saver or whatever media outlet you're using. Okay, so this is the ad platform that is going to be delivering your ads. So that's the first step, is name that media outlet. So then you can attach your new campaign to that media outlet. So let's say, for instance, this is for Facebook. We can give the ad a title, and the title is going to relate to the offer that you're making. So all of these campaigns are essentially offers. You're offering free information. You're offering a free list of homes. You're offering a home evaluation. So what is that offer? Just be clear in your mind what that is, first and foremost, because that's really important to know what you're offering. So we'll say that in this case we're offering a hot list of downtown condos. Okay? So one thing that we've learned working with George is something that works very well in his marketplace is specific hot lists. So he's through the years tapped into sort of the hot properties and areas and places that people are very interested in buying. So the downtown condo segment is working very well for him. He's got a lot of interest in that. So he's going to offer a hot list of downtown condos in San Diego. So San Diego is the target area. So you can actually give it a category, whether or not it's buyer, seller. We've got all of these USPs that you can choose from, the unique selling propositions, and you can attach that to the campaign. We've got our type of media, so whether it's an online ad. These top three things, I don't normally fill them in, to be honest. I don't need to be that detailed. I usually have a pretty good sense of what the campaign is just from the title. But if you like to be detailed and you like to have all these things tracked, then you can certainly fill out these fields, but they're not mandatory. So you can leave them as is if you like. The TMS code is the Track My Success code. So this is that source code, that tracking code that we're always talking about. That's going to tell us, give us our metrics, right? How many visits? What is the conversion, and how successful that campaign was. So the TMS code in this case could be FB. So we always use FB as a prefix for Facebook stuff, just keeps us organized. And then we could say downtown condos is the TMS code. Now, when you are creating your tracking code, just keep in mind you don't want to be using any spaces, special characters. There are certain things that the system will not allow when you are creating your tracking code. So we always separate words with underscores here. You can't have any exclamation marks or anything like that. So keep it simple. And then the next step is to choose your website. And this is usually going to be an unbranded site. So we choose our less branded, and then we can go ahead and choose our landing page. Now for George, we actually have a special hot list set up for this through the HDX. So I'm going to choose the HDX as my target website, and then I'm going to go to my pages here, and we've set up a specific page for this. Let's see if I can find it. Downtown condos, where are you? Oh, I'm not seeing it here. Now here we go. Downtown condos and developer deals. Okay, so there I've got my landing page that's been set up for this. So now that I've chosen both of these things, the system generates this URL. This is our tracking URL. Now it's going to look kind of strange to you, and it's certainly something that you would never put on a piece of print advertising, way too long. But if you're doing online ads, whether it's through Google or Facebook, and people are just clicking on it, like if you're doing like a click to website ad in Facebook, this is fine. You can put in this URL and it will all be tracked, right? So then you click on this and it's going to take you to the squeeze page. This is an HDX squeeze page that we've got set up for this specific campaign. And we know that Facebook, a lot of the traffic is mobile traffic, so we want to make sure that the page is sort of really tight and fits well on a mobile device. We always want to make sure that the headline is very specific and almost mirrors the copy that we're using in our Facebook ad. A lot of these things we do set up as part of management, so I know many of you are probably scratching your heads thinking, well, I don't have these pages. How do I set these up? This is something we can do for you as part of the HDX and as part of our management service. And we do find that these pages work quite well. When we test them against other style landing pages, usually these ones outperform the sort of the default versions, which is why we do a lot of these. But just getting back to our tracking here in my campaigns, this is the process, right? So we've got to choose our target website, make sure we've got our landing page, and then we've got our URL that is going to be tracked. And then you go ahead and save that. And once that's saved, you'll see back in your ad library, oh, that's nice. So the command center's decided to kick me out. Let me just get back in here. So when I go back into my campaigns here, we'll give it a minute to get there. I should see all of my ads, all of the campaigns that I've set up right there in my campaigns. And then to see the results, the tracking results, that is this section here, Track My Success. So if I go to Track My Success and I look at, say, I want to look at Facebook, I want to look at the current month, and media outlet name, that's fine. I'll show report, and it's going to show me the results for Facebook, right? So as I mentioned before, when you're looking at your results for the Facebook ads, it's common to have a lower conversion rate. I mentioned at the top of the call that we often say 7% is a good conversion rate, and for Google, that is usually our benchmark. Facebook, we can get away with a slightly lower conversion rate because chances are those 37 leads that were generated still come under that $10 cost per lead. So we're always really more focused on the cost per lead than the conversion rate, but anyhow, it's just one of those metrics that you have to sort of be aware of, but always keep in mind what the cost per lead is. So you would look at what you spent on your Facebook advertising for the month, and then out of the 37, what was your cost per lead? It's fairly easy to calculate. So that is in the Track My Success section there. Okay, let's see what else we got here. What time? Ooh, okay, so it's about 10:02. Let me see if I can get through some of these other questions here. Okay, good question from Timothy. He has signed up several leads to receive the MarketWatch newsletter. How do I know which site it's coming from? Great question. So let's go take a look at some of the settings in My Leads, because you all have access to this stuff, and you can check it out. So in My Leads, if you go into Lead Tools, in Lead Tools, if you check out Options. Now options, these are the settings for My Leads. So this is our system settings that all relates to how leads are being followed up with, usually by email. So the email plans, all the e-plans that go out to the leads. So the follow-up settings here, this is what you want to be looking at. I always try to look for the 3 check marks. You want all these boxes checked off, right? So activate automatic email follow-up for new leads. Yes, I would say let's check that off. I think that sending out emails automatically is probably a good thing. And just keep in mind that we do delay the first email by a few days because we want to give you a chance to reach that person by phone. But if you can't, or if you do, and you still want to be following up with them through email, you can have this active, right? So the leads will automatically get that email follow-up. Second one, automatically subscribe lead to monthly newsletter at the end of the follow-up plan. Check, yes, we do want all of our leads to get access to and get that reoccurring monthly newsletter email that is going to stay in contact with that lead indefinitely. Every month they'll receive an email from you. And then the answer to Timothy's question here, enforce links in follow-up messages to the branded site. So this is what we want to check off to make sure that all of our follow-up messages take people back to our branded site. So you'll see here, like for example, links to reports. Okay, so make sure all those things are checked off. And just to quickly show you where you can find those follow-up plans, if you go back into Lead Tools here and then click on follow-up plans, here is where all of our follow-up plans are. So for instance, if you took a look at like the CP, of course, Craig Proctor follow-up plans are all in here. So each message is designed to provide valuable content. Okay, so there is a purpose here. We're trying to, for one, show that we are interested in providing free information, not badgering, not pestering people. We actually want to provide them with valuable content. So all of these email messages are based on that. And you can customize these. I mean, these e-plans, actually, you could even create your own custom e-plan if you wanted to. Right? So this is a pretty robust system that we have here. But the default e-plans are great, and each one has a link that goes back to your website. So whether or not you're providing access to a free report, or you're bringing them back to the resources page where they can look at all the buyer reports, these links, you want those to go back to your branded site, right? So that's what we're talking about here, providing that information, following up automatically, and then constantly bringing them back to the branded, if you have it, right? If you don't have the branded, if you just have the unbranded, then that's fine. I mean, you're going to be bringing them back to the unbranded. But for the extra $50 a month to have a branded site, I think it's absolutely worth it to be staying in front of people, and especially once the lead flow issue is taken care of, because I know that some of you on the call were still struggling with lead flow, getting enough leads. But once we have that figured out, once we've got the lead flow issue figured out, then you do want to make sure that your follow-up is really tight, it's really consistent, and bringing them back to a branded site that is consistent with all of the rest of your marketing, it can really help with conversion. So you find that now you're calling people and they're like, oh yeah, hi, hi Craig, I've been getting your information every month. Thanks so much for sending that. Sometimes people will actually reply to these emails saying thank you. Thank you for providing that. I've had clients before say to me, I had someone email me thanking me for this report. I have no idea where that report came from. I don't remember sending them a report. And then, of course, I had to explain, well, it's the system sending it, and it's done automatically, and then they get the newsletter. And, of course, this was a bit of a shock to the client who really didn't know that this was happening. But still, you've got someone who's thanking you for this information, and you didn't have to do anything to send it out, right? So very, very powerful, and that's how that works. So you want to make sure you go back to the leads here, lead tools, and it's the follow-up, it's the options. That's where you're going to see all the settings, and then you can access follow-up plans, follow-up scripts, email signature, all that good stuff. Okay, we'll answer a couple more here, and then we will let you all get back to work. How do we send a newsletter? Okay, so Daniel's asking, how do we send newsletter from our website? Can this also be sent via mail, like snail mail? It can. It's formatted for the web, right? So if we go back here, let me get back into Craig Proctor's site. This is an online newsletter. Could you print it out and mail it? Sure, you could. You could just print out this page and mail it. But this is it is designed as an online newsletter. And if you want to add people to it, you can always go into the My Leads, right? So in My Leads, you also have the option here on the left side. So if I open up this panel here and slide it out, I can go ahead and add a new lead. So if you've got a prospect that may not be in the Success Website system here, you can always add them, add their information, and then once they're in the system, so if I put my information in here, so go ahead and save. So it's going to say, what would you like to do next? We're going to go and edit the lead details, and I can go back into follow-up here and turn on that newsletter. So I've assigned the newsletter plan to this new lead. I only have the email here, but that's going to go out, it looks like, the 14th. So that was activated today. So that's how you can add somebody and get them onto that newsletter. Okay, let's see what else we've got. I'm going to answer one more, and then I guess we'll have to wrap it up. Sorry I didn't get a chance to get to everyone's questions. It's been very, very active, and as you can see, I have no issues talking and can really go on at length for a long time. So I don't know if that's a good thing, but anyhow. Let's take one more here, and I'll see if I can get one that's sort of been commonly entered. Okay. We do have lots of questions here about Facebook. Now, we have, and actually this is probably a great place to end up because I'm seeing that there's some very specific questions in here about Facebook and other things, other marketing that we often focus on, specifically during our Jumpstart Live webinars. So if you go into your Success website and click on the Learning tab here, you'll see that we've got a lot of training material. And the Jumpstart is something that that we do. This is Dave. Dave and I we run these webinars every week, every Thursday from 3:30 to 4:30, and we cover specific topics. Some weeks we cover things like My Leads. This week we're covering listings and how to get more leads from your listings. One of the most recent ones that we did here was a campaign set up through Facebook. Okay, so we have done webinars specifically on setting up an ad in Facebook to make sure it's all being tracked and optimized. So take a look at these, because you may get a lot of answers, you know, to your many questions here in the Learning Center. So I think I'll probably leave it at that, because we're pretty much out of time. So I just want to say thanks to everyone who came on the call today. I hope that you found this informative. If you have any questions for either myself or for us here at Success Website, you can always give us a call. Our 1-800 number is up here on my screen, 1-800-361-9527. You can also go to successwebcare.com. So successwebcare.com. This is our support desk, and I'll also put a link to this in the chat. This is where you can create tickets. So if you have a request for us, you want us to customize a landing page, set up a URL, or you have something specific you'd like us to do for your website, make sure you go into Success WebCare, submit a ticket. We will have all those tickets tracked in our system. We'll be able to also give you access to the status of the tickets. So, I mean, sometimes it's necessary. We need to keep track of multiple requests and things like that. So this is just a much cleaner way of doing it. We also have a knowledge base in here that we're constantly building on that may give you some great tips on what to do if you are updating your name servers in GoDaddy, for instance, or if you need basic email setup instructions, right? So that's in the knowledge base. So I would encourage you all to check that out. And then, of course, if you have any questions specifically for me, I'm always happy to help. You can send me an email. It's Kristie, Kristie, at successwebsite.com. It's kind of a qualifier. Like, if you can spell my name properly, then chances are you will be able to reach me. So just keep that in mind. It's Kristie at successwebsite. Well, I think that ends today's call, and I, again, want to thank you all for joining us today, and I'd like to wrap it up. So goodbye, everyone. Thanks so much, and we'll chat soon.